Okay. Hello, anyone who is watching. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm gonna start off playing some Book of Dread here, which came out in 2008. It was the sequel to the original Monsters Den. It's sort of partway between a sequel and an expansion. It added a couple of new classes, a new race of monsters, and then some new campaign features. Let's get rid of this. Okay, cool. So, Den of Corruption was the original Monsters Den campaign. It says here, the reason I'm starting with Book of Dread rather than the original Monsters Den is that the original Monsters Den, like, basically everything that was in that is in this as well. So it's kind of pointless going back that far. Let's do the new one. Let's do Den of Terror. The names for the characters here, it started as sort of a joke in the first one, and it continued into this one as well, where a lot of them are just ones that sound incongruous and kind of a fantasy setting. That's kind of was the main criteria for which names I chose to put in. What classes do we want? Let's have a barbarian and a conjurer. Sure. Compared to the monster artwork in this game, I always felt like the player portraits were. Oh, I can't. Damn. Okay. I felt like the player portraits were a bit weaker. It's because all the artwork for this game was royalty-free artwork that I picked up for a cheap price, because this game was made on no budget at all. And so I just had to sort of work with what I had. And in some ways that can be really good to have constraints. It can kind of spur your imagination and come up with things that you wouldn't otherwise. But yeah, I didn't love the stuff that I had here. Let's have this Brad Pitt guy. I guess I have to do extreme, don't I? This should be good, because I haven't played this game in earnest in a very long time. Okay, so we have the kind of old school dungeon view here. Something I struggled with a lot. It was during the development of the original game. This one sort of just inherited it, but it was how to represent the current location of the party. And I had different icons and just different visual representations, and I was never really happy with any of them. So in the end, what I went with was just this concept that where the party is where the light is, and that's sort of the source of it. And I think that works okay. Like, nobody really seemed to express any confusion about that. Sometimes it's a case where sort of the simplest solution is actually the right one. Okay, a boss. No, not yet. Okay, now to them. Oh, I have a question from Gorgon. He says, what was my main inspiration? There was a very clear main inspiration for this game, and it was a shareware game called Fast Crawl. And a lot of things in this game are very similar to Fast Crawl. The combat mechanics, although I sort of brought in more stuff from Disciples as well, which was another one of my favourite games. You know, the kind of dungeon exploration and stuff, but the deal with Fast Crawl is that it's designed for a fast crawl. It's... No, nobody can use that. Okay. So it's, you'd only have a couple of levels of dungeon, and your party would be randomly generated for you each time, and so it was... I wanted to build something that had a bit more depth in terms of player customization and stuff like that, because in Fast Crawl your characters didn't have abilities either in combat. They just had oops. They just had a single attack. And so yeah, I wanted to make something that brought kind of persistence to that formula. Any plans for Barbarian or Conjurer to return as playable classes? Conjurer is basically in Godfall as it's kind of a mage subclass now. In the Kickstarter, I alluded to the fact that each class has two disciplines that they draw on, which is sort of like two different sections. And one of them is, for the mage, is Arcana, which leads into specialization into Conjurer. And so that includes all the kind of Conjurer things you would expect, like the War Golem and the shadows and things like that. So he's basically still in Barbarian. A couple of his abilities kind of found their way into Warrior. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing back Barbarian at some point, but he's a little bit one note, and when I need to have each class with like two distinct skill trees and different specializations and stuff, it's a little bit harder to do that with something as specific as Barbarian than it is with something a bit more generic like Warrior. But maybe. So what I was saying before about how the constraints you're working under can kind of inform the shape of things in a positive way. The appearances of all these cult characters were basically just, I tried to find a common theme in the artwork that I had, and I kind of cobbled together this faction that would be the cultists with their extraplanar summons and things like that. And so this sort of became the starting point for just how they looked from now on. And so even when I started getting custom work done for Chronicles, this was still the baseline. And so, you know, the human cultists still wear their robes, their crimson robes, or their golden armor, and the guards sort of like this. I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing here. I probably should. Oh, I should have put him at the back line. Man, it's it's surprising to me that there's no preview on the damage bar there. That's definitely something I need to work into the remastered version, because it's such an obvious convenience feature that's missing. As it is, you have to check your tooltip for your damage and then check their health, which is not ideal. Okay, maybe I'll use this. It's funny, during the development of Monsters Den, before I found the art that I would end up using, all the creatures and stuff. Well, like I said, there was no cult at that point because their existence was informed by this artwork. But the more generic factions, the greenskins and stuff like that, they all had placeholder art for months. And so when I play it now, it's still kind of surprising sometimes to see them with the finished art instead of the placeholder art. Should be able to get this guy. Look at this. I did all of the icon artwork for the skills and the items and stuff in this game myself, and it really shows. I did most of it myself in Chronicles as well, but I got a little bit better at it. Sorry, I was just reading his Chris question there. I don't know how much mystery to try and preserve here, but some of what you want is in Godfall, because the way it works, like I said, there are 2 disciplines per base class, and but when you increase your reputation level with the different human factions in the game, at the maximum level they give you access to their kind of specialist troops, and their specialist troops have unique classes which are different kind of mashups of the existing 10 disciplines. So there is the equivalent of like a sword mage, or different mix-ups. Like for example, the Underworld faction, they have a class called Underboss, and he has the Blades discipline from Rogue, and then he also has the Command discipline from Warrior. Some charge going. It was funny during the when I was kind of moving on from Book of Dread to Chronicles. One of the big changes that I felt would bring new people in and make it a bit more accessible was the change to the battle graphics to feature full body characters. I know I should probably go on the correction. Full body characters instead of just the portraits. But yeah, there's definitely a vocal faction of people that preferred the approach that I used in this game, which was actually a big fear. Like I had during development of Chronicles was, what if I go to all this effort and spend all this money, and it turns out people liked it better the old way. And so there was definitely an element of that, but I think in the end my approach was right, and I did make it a bit more accessible to some people. If I had stayed with the simple portrait stuff, I don't know, that would have made life pretty easy though. That would have freed up a lot of resources. What is this slot ring? Okay. Alright, just about time to take on the boss, I think. No point dawdling forever. Of course, I should be using recommend. It's a useful tool for people who don't understand the game like me. Yeah, it's because there was that split that I decided to do the remastered Book of Dread as one of the one of the reward tiers. Sorry, for the Kickstarter. Because it would be nice to have a bit more updated version of this old style as well. I'm actually not feeling great about this fight, but let's see how we go. I'm not going to be able to get this guy before he transforms. So I guess I'll work on the Acolyte. Okay, his damage resistance is only 9, so I think it's safe to do this. See, this is the other big change in Chronicles, of course, is the action clock that allows for half and free actions, and that helped a lot with balancing the use of skills and stuff. For example, it's a powerful ability in that it lasts the whole battle, but it's a big ask to sacrifice your whole turn to do it. But I'll try. Check away the boss, I guess. I honestly don't remember what this guy can do. I think he is like a void cannon thing, right? Bye, Neil. Yeah, this is not going well. Pandora's box. Wow, that's. I think you can buy it from the store once certain conditions are met. I think. I'm actually going to try and run away here, although I'll probably still die. Yep. Yeah, I do like the traditional party comps as well. This is definitely not one of them, but I like Rogue. I like their kind of focus on single target damage and stuff. That's weird. Well, that my guys came out with full health. I thought they would be at half. Dear Lord, they stole his pants. And took her top. Yeah, people hated the item loss condition in this, and I don't blame them. It was definitely pretty harsh. It is coded such that it takes your least, like your least rare item, but even so, it's people are so loss averse, and I don't say this as criticism. That's just an aspect of psychology, and if you're trying to fight against player psychology as a game designer, you're gonna come up short. Okay, she has a poison smite. That's something that was very I guess sort of unintuitive or strange about this game. That you could have enchantments on your arm or your weapons or whatever that would apply to basically all of your abilities. So a mage with a poison staff, you know, you could do a lightning storm on everyone and poison them all at once. And it wasn't unintentional. I meant for it to be like that, but it was definitely a bit weird. And I steered away from that stuff a bit in Chronicles. There's more of the distinction between what is a weapon attack and what isn't a weapon attack. Yeah, losing a weapon, that's definitely not ideal. I probably should have made that impossible. Yep, okay. See here it wants my ranger to use a sword for the recommendation engine in Chronicles and carrying over into Godfall. I did a bit of work to make sure stuff like that is less likely to happen. It takes into account the kind of gear your character is currently wearing and assumes that that is sort of your preference for that character. So if you have a ranged weapon, it won't try and tell you should use a melee weapon. Well, ideally, yeah. I don't know. There might be bugs, but that's the intent. I'm actually gonna bail out on trying to beat this guy. some of my quality writing here. The way this stuff worked is that the idea was to give you an idea of what sort of monsters would be on the level, and I thought it would be a bit more fun and flavourful to do it in the form of a conversation between your party members. So, for each type of monsters, for each monster faction, and each class, they have a sort of a first line and a second line, and it randomly picks between your characters who says the first line, who says the second line, and then uses the correct line for their class. And it works okay. You get a decent variety of different little snippets of convo there. Yeah, Magic Find. I have. I don't know. I do have some issues with it because. Sorry, what am I doing here? It can come to be a bit of a mandatory stat. There's sort of that tension between do I wear the gear that gets me, better gear, or do I wear the gear that is that's good for fighting? And I don't feel like that tension is necessarily healthy. I'd rather people not have to sort of weigh that when they're also having to weigh the different benefits of the purely combat related benefits on items. I'm gonna put this guy in a robe actually. Has health regeneration, so it might help him a bit. Okay, so this is an annoying this is an annoying instance of the recommend thing not working properly, because look at this. It's telling me I should use this, and then once I equip that, it's telling me I should use this. So, I feel like I did improve on that in Chronicles, and I hope I can do even better next time, because the idea of a recommend thing is great. I think a lot of people struggle with all the different decisions they're offered, and although it takes away something from the game to not for the player not to make those decisions, there's still enough there for people to be happy not to deal with that, I think. Oman is wondering if the overall plot for Godfall will have a decision-making aspect to it. It's a good question. At the moment, the series of missions are quite linear, and what I was thinking, there may be a choice at the end, in classic RPG fashion. But no, at the moment it is quite a systems-driven game in terms of how you build your characters, how you build your company, all that stuff. So you have a lot of freedom there, but and you have the freedom to just ignore the story missions if you want to. But the actual progress through the story will be quite linear, I think, if you take that route. What do I need? Cleave. Yeah, cleave. I'm going heavy on endurance here because I'm on extreme. They need to be able to take some hits. Okay, I'm not going to be playing Book of Dread for the whole time, of course. In a while, I will we'll spend some time with Chronicles, and then we'll spend some time on Godfall as well towards the end. Gotta choose the overpowered skills first. Asking about whether there's going to be limited skill slots in Godfall. You have kind of a skill bar down the bottom, and that does have a limit. You can put 12 in there currently, I think. But that's more than likely going to be enough. Like when I made these first games, I thought that I sort of had a more hardcore vision in mind. I was thinking of like, before every battle, you might be switching out your skills and your set of skills. But it becomes too much busy work, and people don't really want to deal with that. And it's I think that's not really the type of game that it has ended up becoming. Does Godfall have random encounters similar to roguelikes? I think I showed it in a video, but when you're traveling on the overworld, random encounters do pop up, and it's always your choice whether or not to engage with them. It's sort of been the philosophy of Monsters Den is that you don't get forced into combat against your will. Basically, it's your decision when to engage. And so, I mean, in Chronicles, there is the ambush rooms, but even that, like, they're clearly marked, and it's up to you whether you want to accept the risk of traveling through them. So yeah, so the terrain health, yeah, that sounds good. The overland, sorry. It's actually quite difficult to play this and talk at the same time, I'm discovering. Yeah, so the overland encounters pop up, and you can investigate them if you want. And there's quite a variety of different encounters that can pop up. There's at the moment there's 10, but there will be more. And then for each of those, they each have 3 or more outcomes, and you won't necessarily know what the outcomes are. Yeah, well, you won't know ahead of time what the outcomes are. You've just got to decide whether you're in the mood to kind of take a risk on one of these encounters. So, one instance is that your party might spot a campfire in the distance. And so if you go to investigate the campfire, there's a couple of different options. Like, it could be a party from another mercenary company that's on their way back from a mission, and they may be willing to trade with you, or it may be a group of orc hunters who will attack you. Or so yeah, there's these different things. Like, it might be good or it might be bad, and it's up to you to weigh whether you want to take the risk given your current situation. Yeah, it's not implemented at the moment, but I would like to do sort of in-dungeon quests or sort of vignettes like that as well. Like in this game, if you remember, God, this poison's killing me. There was the dungeon satyr kind of guy who would offer you a quest to kill all the inhabitants of the level, as well as the injured dwarf guy that would this is really bad. A dwarf guy that would join you for a while until I believe he was a dwarf until he died. And it was interesting actually because speaking of that guy, I had to have a reason why he would actually die and why he wouldn't why you couldn't just revive this guy and have him permanently in your party. Um, yeah, this isn't gonna work. And so for each faction, depending on which type of level you encounter him on, he has a different story about how he was stricken with some sort of soul-destroying ailment or magic or something that would render him permanently dead. I'm getting my ass absolutely kicked on this. I was not prepared for extreme, I think. What I might do is for a few minutes I might duck out and let's have a look at the survival mode. I did like this conceit of the menu stuff as being like a book, as being the literal Book of Dread. It was kind of cool. Alright, what do we want? Let's go with something more classic here. Yeah, there are not great options here, are there? I think the custom portrait feature in this game, well, I mean, partly it was exposed a lot more obviously to the player because it's right here, whereas not buried in a kind of customization menu. But I think it was much more popular in this game than it was in Chronicles. This survival mission here with the siege of Telenos, sort of the fiction of the hopeless battle and manning the gates and stuff. I've added a lot of callbacks and stuff in Godfall to the earlier games. The ruins of Telenos is a location in Godfall. That was silly. I can't even equip that many. Pretty sure there's hotkeys to spend like a third of the points or something here. Let me try. Okay, that was 2/3. So in this game, each character class has lost my train of thought for a second there. Each character class has 10 different skills available to them. Um, in Godfall, each each discipline has 9 skills to it. So each character has 18 active skills available to them potentially to choose from, as well as 8 passive skills that they can take, and 6 fighting styles. And fighting styles is something where the slots aspect does still play a role, because you can only have 3 fighting styles equipped. Although, yeah, it's very unlikely that a given character will have all 6 fighting styles unlocked. Good old Yelmo. Um, lately, asking about other games that I've been playing lately. Playing a lot of Destiny actually, which is nominally sort of an RPG, sort of. It has RPG trappings, but it actually I admire a lot of the design work that's gone into it in terms of the loot system and the way things work, and sort of drive the players, and the daily and weekly goals that you get. Yeah, I think it's very good. There's a lot of great RPGs that have come out lately. Pillars of Eternity is calling to me, but I just can't afford to dive down that hole. I say that every time, but it's the games that I don't expect that end up sucking away a lot of my time. Wow, this is actually pretty overwhelming, isn't it? Coming back to this now, this is just baffling. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. This is way too much, and it's very difficult to even to navigate it and equip it and stuff. That's okay. Um, in Godfall, the way that basically the shop interface is the inventory of interface is the loot screen. In this case, I could just buy things and equip them straight onto the character. I have all the same filters and stuff available to me. I can recommend items in the shop and things like that. It's much better. I didn't even fully understand how much of a step forward from this it was. Yelmo has a few different lines he says, of course, when you buy or sell, to just give him a little bit of personality. I had a question from Vunar whether the Kickstarter would be more successful if I'd done it earlier. That people may have forgotten about Monsters Den to some extent. Yeah, probably. It certainly would have been more successful if I had been able to launch it alongside a game, so I could directly funnel. Like, for example, if I've been ready to go with a Kickstarter for Godfall at the time that I launched Chronicles, I could have had an ad for the Kickstarter, in the game when it first gets its initial buzz of activity. Yeah, that would have made things massively easier, because I've really struggled to get attention for the Kickstarter project, get any press attention really at all. It's been a big problem. So, yeah. Yeah, it's just about getting in touch with the people who do kind of have fond memories of Monsters Den and stuff, and that obviously does get more difficult the longer you are sort of away from when they played it. But I wasn't in a position to do the Kickstarter any earlier. Like, it's not a regret, because it just wasn't going to happen that way. Alright, I'll see how I go here. We'll put a cap on 10 minutes of this at most, and then we'll move on to Chronicles. Does anyone else have any questions? Well, I hack up. Oh god, I wasn't paying attention, and two of my guys I did, including the cleric. This is not going to take 10 minutes. Let me talk about this for a sec. You can see here when every attack or action that a character can take. For example, his attack might be called Savage Attack, and in the later games like Chronicles or Godfall, it would say Orc Berserker uses Savage Attack. But one nice touch in this game is that for every skill, there was kind of a field in the skill description for me to write like a proper English kind of description of what happens when they do it. So when they cast the spell, they cast the spell, but they attack savagely. Special attacks for can't retreat. Yeah, choose a challenge. And yet 1 waves of attackers were slain. I really made them pay for it. How embarrassing. Alright, let's give me a second, I'll switch over to Chronicles. All of these games have different screen sizes and aspect ratios and stuff, so I need to fiddle with the stream software for each one. I'll try that about there. You guys let me know if the background is still too loud. Okay, so here we are, Chronicles. This was 2012, which is weird to say now because it doesn't feel that long ago. But this began life as sort of a chunk chopped off of Godfall and sculpted into a game of its own. It has a structure. I mean, it was quite a departure from the earlier games because it has a very different structure with the so you have a team of 12 heroes here. No, it's not 12, it's 10. 10 heroes here that you level up over the course of different missions, whereas in the previous games you would create a team of guys for the purpose of a mission, and then they'd sort of be bound to that mission. So it introduced a lot of different mechanics and different ways you could play the game, and different strategies you could take. You could try and level up one group just through all 3 campaigns, or you could level up. You could bring more experienced guys into groups of lower level guys to sort of help mentor them up and make life easier. And you could grandfather equipment down to your other characters and stuff. I thought it was kind of interesting, but there are echoes of this in Godfall, I guess, in the way that you have the your stable of characters. You can play Godfall with only a single party with only 4 characters if you want, or you can play it more like this. We have a bunch of characters and you swap them in and out and just do what you like. I'm a loony was asking if there are any campaigns or bosses that didn't make the cut. Legendary monsters didn't make the cut for Chronicles, and that was crap. I did want to have them in there, but that was cut sort of at the last minute. I couldn't afford to get all the artwork done for them. They will be back in Godfall. I think I've shown off some of the art. I showed a Cerberus on the Facebook page. Storylines and stuff, I don't really want to get into, because if I liked it, it's probably something I'm going to try and revisit for Godfall. So this game also had the premium content, which is the first time I ever tried asking for money directly from players. It was a bit of an experiment. On Congregate it was a fixed price. On Armor Games it was pay what you want. And what that experiment showed me is that pay what you want, most people don't want to pay very much. They want to pay as little as they can, which is absolutely fair enough. So I didn't make a lot of money from it, but it was dipping my toe in the water, and it helped fund some things like the addition of the female art and stuff like that. So some people probably have not ever seen these guys. This is the roster from the premium content. They're all the same. You have a Inquisitor and a Confessor and a Sorcerer and a Conjurer, but they just have different names and different starting appearances, starting equipment, which is fundamentally the same, but it just looks a bit different. I like this guy. He's quite cool. I like him too. He's quite a distinct appearance. So let's make a party of all these guys, though, these new characters. Let's take him and him and him and him. Yeah, the character customization, I struggled a bit with trying to expose it to the players. There are a few different ways you can get at it for that reason, because I wanted to make sure that people noticed that that these weren't fixed characters that were set in stone. You could still fully customize them, but with limited success. I mean, a lot of people still missed that was possible. Oman is asking about what legendary monsters. At the moment, there is the Medusa is back, the Minotaur is back, and the Cerberus is in. I do plan to do the Hydra again as well. He's a little bit more of a technical challenge because of the way he works. I need to try and figure out how the best way to organise the artwork for him. But I will probably add more as well as time goes on. But those are the ones that have art and are in the game at the moment. No, there won't be permanent poison. It's more like this game where there's durations on effects and things like that. So these chapters 5 and 6 here, they were added after release. So this ended up having a. I mean, when it came out, it had kind of a limited amount of content, and this didn't necessarily add more content, but it added more ways to play that mixed things up a bit more and kept it a little bit more fresh. There were still only 3 factions in the game though, and that was because at the time I was putting this game together, I hadn't been getting art commissioned with the aim of making this game in particular. It was to make Godfall, and so I'd be getting things a bit haphazardly, and then when it came time to make this game, I thought, okay, what factions have got enough art that I can that they can make a decent representation in the game, and so that's how I ended up with the cult, the undead, and the demons. Another thing that was added post-release, it was highly requested. I don't know if I think a lot of people might have missed that it was even added. Was this option that you can actually change the level of the monsters on the mission, and that's so that people have mixed feelings about the automatic scaling of the monster levels and stuff, and this is a way that you can set the monsters to a lower level so that you can feel like you've progressed, and you can just steamroll a bunch of low level guys and feel like your character's genuinely tough rather than always facing a relatively even challenge. Hold Descent is asking whether there's a starting stable in Godfall. No, you will start Godfall with a single party that you'll put together, and then if you expand from there, how you expand from there is up to you. So yeah, you can definitely have a roster that's entirely clerics or whatever you want. Oh, down to 64 minutes, huh? Still not quite on track for that second stretch goal. This game had the curvy movement line, which I thought it was kind of cool and kind of not cool at the same time. It was kind of abstracted. This was a halfway step between the flat view of Book of Dread and the more realistically isometric view of Godfall. This kind of a weird abstracted realm of giants. The tutorials in this one are very basic and not very good because, like most game developers, I hated doing them and I left it kind of till the last minute. I probably say this every time, but I hope to do a lot better for Godfall in terms of teaching people to play. Yeah, for anyone just joining us, this is Monsters Den Chronicles that was released in 2012. Because of the origin of this game as a kind of precursor to Godfall, a lot of the character art will appear in Godfall as well as a lot of new material that will be funded with the Kickstarter proceeds. This game had a couple of things that I feel like were actual genuine innovations, like the ability to invest in the store to increase the quality of the material that's available. That at the time of this game's release, that was I was not aware of any other games that did stuff like that. In this game, you had permanent access to the store. In Godfall, there are a bunch of different stores that are that have physical locations within the towns that you can visit. You will still have access to the Emporium, but the Emporium stock will be considerably more limited, and but you can sell at any time without needing to go into the store interface at all. And the reason for that change is that I feel like it gives the game better flow if it's sort of like there's a reason, like you go out on an adventure and you gather loot, and then after a while you return to town, and town is where you sort of fiddle with looking at new equipment and all that kind of stuff during your down periods, rather than kind of stopping in the middle of an adventure to have a bit of a browse through a shop. It feels a little bit incongruent. But I still want people to have the convenience of being able to sell their stuff at any time. Nothing fancy going on here. Yeah, that's true. I hadn't even noticed that I had all the skills. Yeah, that's also why all the campaigns were unlocked at the start, because it's this is a development build. Let me show you something else here. That didn't go to plan. Can you see? It should be back up and running. Hold on. Okay, here we go. So, a debug command I have to just instantly win the battle. I'm sure there are times that would have come in handy for players, but I'm not going to make it that easy on you. So there was a history of these kind of mysterious special shrines from the previous games. I tried to mostly mix them up and make them different ones. Because one of the things I really liked when Book of Dread came out was these little kind of cryptic messages that have on them. I'd say, people would be asking in the comments, what does this one do? What does this one do? It was sort of like just a little bit of arcane knowledge that people could share between. So this one kills one of my characters to buff everyone else. Oh my goodness, look at this. I really did use a development build, didn't I? Look at those sparks of legend. So because the characters in this game had an actual, like they have a presence in the dungeon, they have a physical appearance, it meant that when you use the scroll, I could actually physically or visually transform you into a monster and sell that illusion a bit more obviously. Yeah, dot skills are something that I've thought about a lot. In Book of Dread, obviously, the way poison worked, and all sort of stun, all negative abilities of that kind, is that they would trigger at the start of that character's turn, which makes a lot of sense, especially when characters' turns are a fixed length, like they were in Book of Dread. With the sort of semi-real-time, hybrid implementation where there is kind of a representation of real time with the battle timer and things like that, and the durations. It can get a little messy and it can get confusing, and it can be hard to tell whether this dot will have a damage tick before this player takes a turn, or just kind of trying to keep all that stuff straight does become quite difficult. So yeah, like I have gone back and forth, and I can't say that I have a definitive answer on that yet. I'm still kind of wrestling with that in terms of implementation for Godfall. My current thinking is that I'm going to get rid of more of the dot type effects and make them more like the one rogue poison that was in Chronicles, where it would just do its chunk of damage on expiry. So then at least that's a bit clearer. This is what I'm talking about. See, in Godfall, the pathing doesn't take you through an ambush room if there's another way around. Yeah, I mean, the original Monsters Den and Book of Dread were both, extremely unbalanced. There were a lot of abilities and things that were just ridiculously overpowered. Especially as the game went on. And I know a lot of people loved that about it. There's a bit of a tension because it can be really fun to just be massively overpowered in a game, and especially if you feel like you've figured out the secret. That's kind of part of playing the game, is kind of cracking what's overpowered and what isn't. But with Chronicles and going forth into Godfall, I have made a more earnest effort to make things balanced, and I know that does take an element of the fun out of it, but I hope that you know, the challenge that can be gained is worth it. So these fighting styles were a new addition in Chronicles as well. The idea was that in addition to your active skills, you'd have sort of stances that you can switch between, and that there would be, I mean, they take no time to do, they cost no power to use. It's purely sort of an opportunity cost. It's a decision between which of these is the right bonus that I need right now. And the idea is that whichever one you choose, and then once you take an action, you're kind of stuck with that one until it comes back around to your turn. So there are some which which are better offensively, and some which are better defensively, and so that's a little something to bear in mind when you're playing. I think they were reasonably successful. I think they add something to the to the kind of you know, the stew of tactical possibilities. He's only gone incorporeal. So we use magic against him. A lot of players really hated these this first level of the Undead campaign with all these evasive ghosts. But that was one thing that I liked about Chronicles, is that each level of each dungeon was different. Like, it had a different composition of enemies and different mechanics, whether it was locks or different things like that. I think that that was a definite success of this game. If you've used a scroll, you don't trigger the ambush room, and it doesn't use up your scroll. That's a little pro tip. Alright, here's the boss. This guy is very protective of his crypt. Demands enemy attention, of course. This is a mechanic that was in the original game, of course. The Necromancer could do this to to one of his minions, but the way that I implemented these conditions in Chronicles and also in Godfall, it gave me a lot more flexibility, and it let me add a lot more fun things that monsters could do, and ways that they could sort of emulate player strategies or try and dismantle player strategies. One thing that strikes me now playing Chronicles, particularly in this battle view, is just how cramped it is and how absolutely crammed with information. Just looking at this, it's really overwhelming. And yeah, so with Godfall I've made a conscious effort to try and clean it up a bit more. The information is still all there. Some of it is a click away or something, the information that you access less often. This kind of clumsy inspect mode that was here, with the new game I can use the right mouse button, so it's much easier to get at this kind of stuff. And then you can take kind of the stuff off the screen, and it's a little bit of a loss. You don't have that right at your fingertips, but it just improves the presentation a lot and makes it a lot less visual noise on the screen. I don't know if you can tell from the resolution of the stream, but these all these I'm playing this at full screen at the moment, and all the character sprites are really nice and crisp, because the art that was included was really high res for them, whereas the monsters are quite pixely at this resolution, because they only used I scaled the assets appropriately for the size the game was going to be. The reason I didn't do it for all these guys is basically just laziness, but it has the effect that when you play it at a larger than intended size, these guys still look good, but the monsters don't look good. Yeah, okay, so we had a question: how does the AI choose to attack someone? Back in the Book of Dread days, there were two classes of enemies, what were called mindless and intelligent enemies, and so the mindless types would choose their targets randomly, and then the more intelligent types, like the bosses, they would do more intelligent things, like try and kill someone if that was within their power, or things like that, try and finish people off. The AI in Chronicles and now Godfall is more advanced. There are still a lot of enemy attacks that rely on random targeting, and this is not just because I don't know how to do it any differently. It's a conscious design choice, because if the enemies are too smart and too relentless, I feel like it doesn't become very fun. Like if every single battle is every enemy focus attacking your healer or things like that, it just becomes a drag. So a lot of enemy attacks are random. But then a lot of enemy attacks also have certain conditions, like whether that's a certain health level or power level of a target, or a certain health level or power level of themselves, or only if the target has a certain condition, or it's quite complex. There's a lot of different variables I can tweak on how that stuff works, and a lot of enemy abilities also have a limit on the number of times they can be used in each combat. So things don't drag on forever with enemies summoning and things like that. Whoops, I let you down, Reed. Where is charge? Does this guy not have charge? No, this is the commander type. Hooray. Yeah, and to more specifically answer your questions, there are definitely enemies and skills that target, for example, the back row preferentially. So I replaced the party banter from the early games with the kind of story text for each campaign level here, which I mean it takes away from it's less a reflection of your party, and it's the same every time, and so in that way it's not as satisfying, but it's it was an effective way to get the story across, so I just did it. Does anyone else have any questions about Chronicles or Chronicles era stuff? Alright, for the last half an hour or so, let's actually look at Godfall. The reason we're here. Bear with me a sec. Alright. I just want to say I really appreciate all you guys dropping by and keeping me company during these last couple of hours. It's been kind of a stressful month and a surprising month, but I'm just so happy that we got there in the end, and I owe all of you guys a tremendous debt of gratitude. Let's have a look at the game. Okay, so this again is a debug build that has a load of stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this. So this is the inventory screen that I was talking about before. I did show it off in the you can the tabs up here are either loot or shop tabs. So at the moment we're in the middle of the wilderness, and the only shop we have access to is our recently sold items that we can buy back. Okay. This here is a town. This art will be replaced, but this is the capital of the sort of remaining human empire, administered by the clerics here in High Seat. So this is where you can visit. Each human faction has a base within the world. Some of them are part of major cities. Some are off in their own little camps. But you can visit them, and you can purchase different items and things depending on your reputation level with the faction. You can see we've got a slot up here for the store. It's got the defender's face on it. We also have a more generic store here. This one is called the Emporium. It's just the placeholder kind of one. And then we can look at the missions here. Let's take on a mission. there are these escalating tiers of missions which provide more challenge as your characters level up. Let's just take this one. We've got these edge indicators to. I mean, we can refer back to an overhead map, but you can also just follow the indicators if you sort of know where you're going. Let's have a look at our keep here. I don't just want to reiterate everything that I went over in the features video. I'll get to more combat and exploration and stuff like that, but just as a brief overview, you can buy upgrades to the keep. You can manage your roster here, and so you have a couple options here. You can hire a character, and this will be populated with characters of, at the moment they're all level 1, but they will be various levels and be a bit more character-like in their own right. So you can go that way, or you can just create a character and just make them whatever you want. Or you can get a glimpse at some of the advanced classes here. Spell Warden, Elite 17 troops able to combine proficiency in arms with combat sorcery. Let's go ahead and make a Spell Warden. Spell Warden is what you get if you max your reputation with the Protectorate, with the 17 Guard, who are the kind of martial arm of the College of Mages. So, you can create characters. So as someone was asking before, I could create all clerics or whatever configuration I want. And these other parties that I'm not currently controlling, I can give them assignments to do different things. For example, I can tell them to assist the 17 Guards, and then each month they will generate additional reputation with that faction. Let's have a look at what the Spell Warden can do. Right, so she has sorcery, which is your elemental magic, your kind of battle magic, and she has the warrior's battle tree. So this is a total tank mage. This is a probably quite unbalanced character that you get as a reward from for progressing quite far in the game. Okay, so we've just had a random encounter pop up here, a waste shrine. This is a like I said, it's one of those random encounters that can have different outcomes. Let's see what happens. Okay. Okay. That one's not implemented. But let's go ahead into the dungeon here. And coming from Chronicles, hopefully you can see that this is a big visual difference. The dungeons are rendered a lot more realistically. It's a lot more appealing to look at. One new thing that's one of many new things in Godfall is that each dungeon has some of these modifiers here. So for instance, this dungeon randomly has Shrouded, which means that when I mouse over an opponent, I don't know what that force is. So that makes it a lot more difficult to try and pick the easy fights first. And it also is Mysterious, which means there's a higher chance of special encounters, which is nice. Let's just hold on. What about skills? What have I got? Let me unlock a couple of skills here. Well, I can't. My guys are still level 1. Let's just jump into battle. I should have known something like this would happen. Let's start again. Hold on. That is embarrassing. I should have done more of a dry run. But I like, the game's not finished, that's why I need $30,000. Okay, let's get another quest. Let's try that again. Let's take something a little simpler. Let's eliminate a raider leader. Again, if you guys have any questions, if this raises anything, feel free to ask. Okay, so we've got another random encounter here. This is a campfire. This is one of the ones I was talking about before. So we can choose to investigate or we can pass on by. Okay, so here we go. A party from the Steel Hand Company rests by the fire. Friends, come have a seat and help us lighten our packs. You can have first pick of what we found on this trip. This functions as a vendor with a discount because you know they're your fellow mercenaries and they just have a random selection of stuff. I'm just going to move on here. This is something else that's new. You notice that this guy, this group of enemies here, has that little eye above, and underneath the tooltip there it says Vigilant. What that means is that certain enemies within each dungeon will be vigilant and will not fall for a a scroll of deception. So the reason this is in is just to make it a bit harder to follow the strategy of sneaking away through every dungeon, just looting as you go. There are now actual guards that will, some guards that will not let you pass. But rather than make it like a random chance to be detected or something like that, I've clearly marked which those enemies are. So this dungeon has different modifiers than the one before. It has Mysterious again, but it has Fetid, which reduces your health and power regeneration while you're in the dungeon. That takes place outside of battle and inside of battle. Okay, so we actually successfully got into battle here, which is good. Functionally, it's similar to the previous games, and especially Chronicles. We can still drag people around, reposition them. We have the initiative list on the left here. When you mouse over someone, they pop out. It shows you their turns and at what timings, what kind of battle timer their turns will be at, which helps a little bit with some of the issues I was talking about before of figuring out whether an effect will still be active when it's a certain character's turn or something like that. But as I was saying before, things are a lot cleaner. There's not stats and things littering every aspect, every inch of the screen. If I want to get at a character's details, I can just easily go in like that. Alright, let's just start the battle. Oh yes, we just hit 33,000. That's awesome. Okay, all my characters are very ignorant and only have their basic attacks, so this is going to be a very straightforward battle. Look and feel of attacks and impacts and stuff is improved over Chronicles. I've changed things up a little bit and made it feel a bit more meaty and a bit more interesting. Oh, okay, yeah, sorry, I forgot the volume again. One sec. Sorry about that. It's my mistake. The sounds, absolutely placeholders. Some of the animations might stay, but yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to get improved versions of most of the animations. I mean, no work has been done on the sound. All the sound that's in the game is carryover from Chronicles, so I mean, that will be getting a full pass of its own. I'm sorry, Lucas. Please ask your eardrums to forgive me. So this is another type of dungeon encounter. This is like a minor treasure. You can break the urns, and these are these don't have icons yet, but these are like trash loot basically, and the the types of these items you'll find dependent on the situation. So these are within the burial urns. It's just cloth and whatever. So functionally, because all the loot settings for the bags by default they're set not to accept these kind of trash items. So by default they'll always be sold. So the reason they even exist is just for a little bit of flavor. I mean, functionally they're just going to amount to gold. Or if you're the kind of character that likes, I mean, the kind of the kind of player that likes collecting, every potential type of item and obscure thing in the game, you can make a collection of these items if you want. You might notice that there's no movement arrow when I'm mousing over possible locations to move to. There was one for a very long time, and I struggled mightily to figure out how to make it look right and whatever. In the end, I removed it, and I think the game feels a lot better without it. There's just a little bit of a highlight on the room top here when it's the one you're going to move to. If you're like okay, if your route would take you if your only possible route would take you through an enemy, it just won't let you make that move. It'll be highlighted in red, so you understand that you're gonna have to fight an enemy if you want to get there. Does anyone have any questions or specific things they'd like me to show or focus on? Rooms which have something in them, they have this kind of gold highlight on them that makes it quite readable and obvious that there's something in there. Yeah, good eye. That's what it was. During deployment, you have the option to use a potion, which is the type of potions that were in Chronicles that increase your action and your quickness, your damage resistance, or whatever. They're used during the deployment phase in this game. Yeah, so we have an elixir of protection here. I'll use it on him. Wherever possible, I've tried to kind of streamline the interface so that where you use items makes sense. Like they're on the screen where they're relevant. So, for instance, to use a scroll of deception or something, you have a button here on the dungeon view that brings them up. You don't use them from the inventory. For those battle potions, you use them at the start of battle. You don't, have to prepare them in your inventory ahead of time. Let me try and find the boss here. Okay, Lucas is asking about vision of sort of end game monsters and items and stuff. I can touch on this a bit. Let's see if it'll let me leave the dungeon without crashing. Yep, great. Alright, so I'll travel back to the keep here, and I'll show you something which is the method of obtaining the sort of the ultimate items in the game. So the library is a structure you can build at the keep, and what it does is it allows you to research the location of artifacts. Through your adventures, beating bosses and stuff, occasionally, or through other sort of encounters, you can find this item called a scrap of artifact lore. Once you have enough of them, you can use it to research the location of an artifact, which generates a quest to like a dungeon, and an associated quest to retrieve that that artifact. And unlike any previous items in Monsters Den, the artifacts are actually genuinely unique. You can only have one of them. So, for instance, it generates a top tier mission, a tier 5 mission to retrieve them. So they're not easy, but this is the only way to obtain the artifacts. It generates a mission for a random artifact. You don't actually get to control which artifact it is. We have a question about turning animations. Bear with me, it's nearly 5 AM in the morning. Turning animations off. Yeah, I mean, in Chronicles I had an option to turn off battle animations and stuff. I definitely want to support as many things of that nature as I can. It's the Grey Dogs Company. Again, it's the same encounter as before. I think I've crashed it again. Let me restart. Countdown is down to 20 minutes. Okay, we got the game running again. This is not particularly exciting, but I may as well show this, that it's another departure from the previous games. You can save the game manually, and then you can load that specific save game. The the exploration State of the Shroud is not being saved properly at the moment, if that looked weird. Yeah, I'll let me just cheat past these guys. So yeah, you can see if you mouse over these, it tells you what it is. And if you roll out to the sort of the continent map, you can go into each location and you can actually turn on or off that edge track. So now I don't have the one for my keep if that was bothering me. You know, when you take on a quest, the quest dungeon automatically is set to yes for the arrow, but you can turn it off if you want. At the moment, the Spark of Legend is still in the game, yeah. So this is a neutral result of that encounter. It was a hidden cache, but the cache is empty. Caleb is asking what engine I used to create it. This is still Flash. It's running in Adobe Air to make a desktop game. And the experience, I mean, it should be seamless to the end user. You're not gonna notice that it's Flash. So Savanti here. This is the other major city. This is the home of the Council of Mages in the 17 Guard that I talked about before. The missions that are available are shared between, like, that's like a global thing. They can be, this icon at the side here shows which faction has put up the mission. So for example, this is by the Merchants Alliance. So completing this mission gets you +5 rep with the Merchants Alliance. This one is put up by the Clerics. And the Clerics and the College of Mages have a somewhat slightly adversarial relationship in that there's a lot of mistrust. So taking a mission from one or the other has a slight reputation penalty with their opposite. Yeah, I would like to have multiple continents and have like sea travel between them and stuff. It's not in yet. I'm gonna have to see how far things stretch, but yeah, I would definitely like to have that. Yeah, that's true, but I can right click now, and there will be an implementation of right clicking for various features. The code was a complete rebuild from Book of Dread to Chronicles. Godfall is largely built on top of Chronicles. Yeah, the idea of maybe dropping components that can be combined into items and stuff, that's definitely a possibility, yeah. I mean, this placement of this stuff is not, is it's a monthly report. Nothing much happened. This stuff is, obviously they're all sharing the same city icon. It's going to be changed. These, for example, this is the home of the Underworld. It's the home of the Merchants Alliance. But the placement is not by no means final. At the moment, no, you can't fail missions. Let me show. Oh, that's right. Let me show you something else. So on the quest screen here, there's another tab for the bounties. Bounties are another way to make money. It's simply destroy a certain amount of a certain type of creature for a certain amount of gold, which is slightly randomized. So sometimes you'll get a better deal. Sometimes you'll have one which requires not many enemies and it has a higher than normal payoff, and so that's one you might particularly want to pursue. But these do expire. You can fail these, so you have like until the end of the month to kill, 14 of these or 15 of these and get that reward. But if you're willing to spend some of your influence, which is this resource which is gained by completing missions, you can. It's framed as requesting the bounty, and then that sort of locks it. It's exclusively for your company, and then it does not expire. So this is a way to sort of convert influence into gold. Lucas is asking about hybrid builds. It's something that I've always been interested in and tried to support. For example, even going back to Book of Dread, there was rangers could use the two-handed axes, and there were various skills that supported either weapon, but either kind of paradigm. But it is hard to do that. It is hard to come up with a thing that is balanced and it is sort of true to the core concept of the archetype. But there is more room to customize characters this time around with the disciplines. You can lean one way or the other, or you can have more of a hybrid build. In terms of things like melee ranges and stuff, that's I think that is a little bit of a dead end. I think it's not going to be heavily supported. It's going to be possible, but you're going to be at a disadvantage because you're not going to have full access to the suite of abilities. But I definitely encourage people to play non-optimally and come up with fun things to do and different things to try. You see a couple of these dungeons, the Chronicles dungeons that are around here, the Black Crypt and the Riftstorm Keep. There are what I call world dungeons as well as the randomly generated quest dungeons. There are certain dungeons that are just static kind of designed content that are just waiting in the world to be discovered, and you can go in and clear them out. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely one way to play is to keep playing, keep advancing your company. Have new crops of heroes leveling up and stuff. Because I think a key idea, a core idea of Monsters Den is endless play. It's always been supported, but at the same time, I also try and have an end. So in the old games, there was you'd reach the level 9, you'd reach the end of the first den, and hooray, you won. But you can keep going to the Den of Endless Evil if you want. It's the same kind of concept here. You can play as long as you want. You can advance your company to you optimize all your characters, level everyone up. But there's also the storyline, and if you're the type of player that just isn't interested in playing forever, you can play through the storyline. You have kind of a conclusion there. You have a potential stopping point, and you can just stop there. So I do try and cater to both playstyles. 10 minutes to go, everyone. If you're in here and you've somehow forgotten to back the project yet, time is running out. I just thought of something I can show. These static dungeons are kind of set up just as test beds for me at the moment. They're not in their final form, but just in the entranceway here we have this encounter survival test. You can see it's reinforced plus 3 waves. So what that means is that survival type play with the multiple waves and stuff is integrated into the core game now. You can come across hordes of enemies that are larger than 6 and will take multiple waves to defeat. Anyone else have any more questions? Coming down to the wire here. I said it before, but I'll say it again. Thank you guys for tuning in. I do really appreciate it. I haven't tried a live stream like this before, and it's nice that it wasn't just me by myself. At the moment, yeah, each class gets two skill trees, but which means there are 10 in total. Like each of the 5 core classes has 2 unique skill trees, and then the advanced classes are mashups of those 10. I am going to try and put up a video of this later. This this 3-wave battle is looking a bit dire for my intrepid band here. They will go out fighting. Yeah, so that's just showing off a new tool in the toolbox. I have the survival integrated into the core dungeon gameplay. Yeah, Angst was asking if there's going to be basic skills unlocked from the start. Let me show you a skill tree here, and sort of where my hesitation to do that comes from. Is that it's sort of like the way you start out here, and then you have sort of 3 directions to go from, and then you can kind of work your way through the web of unlocks here. If I start the player with one of these, that kind of prejudices things a bit. It's definitely something I thought of, and the way around it will probably be that I'll just start you with a skill point, and us either that or level 1 will take a very, very trivial amount of experience to get through until you get your first unlock. Blagula is asking, can you lose levels from losing experience in defeat? No, you can't lose a level. There's a question about the implementation, sort of the logistics of getting all the backer rewards done in terms of the new items and locations and stuff. I will be sending out surveys for this that people can fill out, and then if things are unclear or there's issues or further development to be done on the surveys, then I'll be following up. I expect that a lot of the items especially, will be quite clear cut. It will not be particularly difficult to implement. The people who contributed larger amounts to get quest locations and stuff, I will be working more intensely with them. We'll have more back and forth, and it'll be fun. It's nice to have someone else's input. Yeah, fresh take on things. Here we can see our reputation tracker for the different human groups. Yeah, there actually are skills that are not linked to the skill tree. There are items can grant you special skills. For example, there might be a wand that grants you, the mage's fireball skill, or there might be a sword that grants you an entirely different skill that doesn't belong to any class. Very close now, the final 3 minutes. Just to quickly show you guys this. This is the doctrines, which is another means of company advancement. There are different categories that you unlock, and then you can only choose one bonus from that category. We have a mysterious shrine here. I think it's appropriate to end the countdown in battle, so let's do that. Yeah, that's an interesting question, Blag. I've gone back and forth a bit on that. The way the game is going to open is that you're going to be a sort of a hero of a bygone age that's who's been dead for quite a while and who's finally been recovered and resurrected, and is going to be given leadership of their own company. But originally I was going to make that character the company leader, an actual character. At the moment, I'm thinking maybe they'll be degraded from their experience, and they'll just be sort of the overall commander, because then it doesn't prejudice you to take a certain character on every mission. Alright, 5 seconds to go. I realise there's a delay, and so you guys will be probably already seen it, but there we go. It's the end of the Kickstarter. Yes, thanks to Jason and all of our backers. Everyone's been amazing. This is what I was talking about before, where if I try and move here, I can't move there, and it's showing me because there's an enemy in the way. Yes. So what is our total? 33,105. That's amazing. Alright, thank you everyone for watching, and thank you everyone again for your tremendous support. Risking a Kickstarter was not an easy thing for me to take on. I was very worried. I tend to obsess over how things will be perceived. I don't like to show unfinished work and stuff, so it was a big leap of faith for me, and I'm really pleased it's paid off, and I've been the response has been really humbling and gratifying, and yeah, I'll stop rambling, but thank you all again. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys later.